Success is created through consistent habits, not chance, because every meaningful achievement is built on the foundation of repeated actions that shape the direction of your life. When you study the people who rise to extraordinary levels of success, you don't find luck at the core of their journey. You find discipline, intention, and a lifestyle structured around habits that move them closer to their goals day after day. Chance may create a moment, but habits create a lifetime. And the distinction between the two is what separates temporary wins from lasting transformation. When you rely on luck, you surrender your future to randomness, hoping that circumstances align in your favor. But when you rely on habits, you take control of the process, shaping your outcomes with deliberate choices. You stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect environment, and you begin acting from a place of responsibility and purpose. Consistency becomes your strategy, and progress becomes inevitable because your actions compound over time. The truth is that small habits, repeated consistently, have a far greater impact than big actions performed occasionally. Success is rarely the result of dramatic shifts. It is the accumulation of simple decisions executed with commitment. Waking up early, focusing on your priorities, practicing your skills, reading, planning, exercising, saving, improving. These actions seem insignificant in the moment, but they create exponential growth when added up over months and years. Consistent habits also build confidence because every day you follow through, you prove something important to yourself. You prove that you are capable, that you are serious, that you are trustworthy. This internal trust is the fuel that helps you push through difficult seasons and stay committed when the results are slow to show. Most people quit not because the goal is impossible, but because they lack the inner belief that their efforts matter. Consistency strengthens that belief. Inconsistency, on the other hand, destroys momentum. You can have all the talent in the world, but if your habits are weak, your results will reflect it. A scattered approach leads to scattered outcomes, and sporadic effort leads to sporadic progress. Success demands that you show up with intention even when motivation is low, because discipline carries you forward when emotions cannot. The habits you create determine how you spend your time, how you think, how you respond to challenges, and how you position yourself for opportunities. A person with strong habits doesn't need to chase success. They attract it through the quality of their actions. Opportunities naturally gravitate toward those who are prepared, focused, and consistent because excellence becomes predictable when it is practiced daily. Habits also shape your mindset, influencing how you see yourself and what you believe you are capable of. When you repeatedly make choices aligned with growth and discipline, your identity shifts to match that behavior. You stop identifying with your excuses and start identifying with your potential. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. Every habit you choose is either building your future or reinforcing your limitations. There is no neutral ground. The things you do repeatedly are either pulling you forward or holding you back. This is why it's not enough to simply want success. You must structure your life in a way that aligns with the results you desire. Your habits must reflect the future you are trying to create, not the comfort you are trying to maintain. Consistency also amplifies your strengths and eliminates your weaknesses. When you commit to daily improvement, you refine your skills, increase your knowledge, and sharpen your abilities. This deliberate practice turns potential into performance and dreams into measurable progress. What once felt difficult becomes natural, and what once seemed distant becomes achievable because repetition creates mastery. Success is created through consistent habits, not chance, because real transformation is the outcome of intentional living. The process may be slow, the work may be demanding, and the progress may be invisible at first, but the compound effect of disciplined action eventually becomes undeniable. You rise to the level of your habits, not your dreams, because dreams alone cannot carry you where discipline refuses to go. Dreams are powerful. They ignite passion. They stir desire. They paint the future you want to experience, but without habits to support them, they remain nothing more than inspiring pictures in your imagination. A dream can show you what is possible, but only your habits can take you there. What you do consistently will always overpower what you wish for occasionally. Dreams give you direction, but habits determine your speed. You may know exactly where you want to go in life, but if your daily actions are not aligned with that destination, you will never arrive. Most people overestimate the importance of big goals and underestimate the power of small routines. The truth is that your everyday behavior is the real architect of your future. And every repeated choice is shaping who you are becoming. Progress does not come from dreaming harder. It comes from acting better. Habits reveal your true priorities. You can talk about your goals all day long, but your habits expose what you actually value. If you say you want success, but your habits reflect comfort, distraction, or inconsistency, the truth is that you are more committed to the lifestyle you currently have than the future you claim to want. Your results do not lie. They are the mirror of your routines. Change your habits and your life must follow. You rise to the level of your habits because habits build identity. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you reinforce the belief that you are the kind of person who follows through. And every time you break your commitment, you weaken that belief. Identity is formed through repetition. Confidence is formed through repetition. Excellence is formed through repetition. You don't become great by dreaming about greatness. You become great by practicing the behaviors that lead to greatness. Habits also control your momentum. When your habits support your dreams, you move forward with purpose and strength. When they oppose your dreams, you move in circles, repeating the same frustrations year after year. Many people struggle not because they lack ambition, but because they lack consistency. They want a breakthrough, but refuse to build the habits that create one. Sustainable success is impossible without sustainable routines. Your habits also determine your response to challenges. Dreams can inspire you to start, but habits keep you from quitting. When the excitement fades and the journey becomes difficult, motivation alone cannot sustain you. Habits take over where emotions fall short. A person without strong habits will stop the moment resistance appears, but a person shaped by discipline keeps going even when the process becomes uncomfortable. This consistency becomes their competitive advantage. Your potential is unlocked through actions, not wishes. You may dream of financial freedom, physical strength, mental clarity, or personal growth, but the habits you practice daily decide whether those dreams take shape in your reality. Reading, training, saving, planning, working, improving, these are not glamorous activities, but they are the steps that transform dreams into results. Every meaningful achievement is built on a mountain of small, consistent actions. Dreams inspire desire, but habits create transformation. Anyone can dream. Few are willing to commit to the routines required for success. Habits transform ambition into discipline, discipline into progress, and progress into results. And once you begin to see those results, your belief expands, your confidence grows, and your dreams begin to feel attainable because your actions are finally aligned with them. Your habits also determine the energy, environment, and mindset you operate from. When you maintain routines that elevate you, such as learning, planning, managing your time, and taking care of your body, you operate with clarity and strength. When your habits drain you through procrastination, distraction, or inconsistency, you limit yourself before you even begin. The level of your life will always rise or fall to the level of your daily choices. You rise to the level of your habits, not your dreams, because your future is not shaped by imagination, but by execution. Dreams tell you what is possible, but habits turn possibility into reality. The person you want to become is waiting on the other side of the routines you're willing to build. Habits silently build your future because they work in the background of your life, shaping your direction long before you recognize their impact. Most people look for dramatic moments or major breakthroughs, but the truth is that your life is being molded in the small, often unnoticed actions you repeat every single day. These routines, these patterns, these tiny decisions accumulate quietly until one day you realize they have constructed the reality you are living in, whether intentionally or accidentally. Every habit you maintain is casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Even the smallest choices, when repeated consistently, begin to influence your mindset, your confidence, your energy, and your opportunities. You may not see immediate change when you read a few pages, practice a skill, save a little money, or wake up a bit earlier, but that consistency slowly shifts the trajectory of your life. Transformation rarely announces itself while it's happening. It becomes obvious only after time has passed. Habits also shape your identity at a subconscious level. When you repeatedly act in a certain way, you begin to internalize those actions as part of who you are. If you exercise consistently, you start to see yourself as someone who takes care of their body. If you study regularly, you view yourself as someone who grows and learns. If you keep your word, you begin to trust yourself on a deeper level. These identity shifts happen quietly, but they have a profound influence on how you show up in the world. The silent nature of habits is what makes them powerful and dangerous. Good habits elevate you without requiring constant motivation, while bad habits pull you downward even when you're not paying attention. A small positive habit can lead to massive progress over time, while a small negative habit can create long-term damage. The outcomes appear drastically different, but the process that generated them was subtle and consistent. Habits also influence the opportunities that come your way. When you consistently operate with discipline and excellence, people notice, even if you think no one is watching. Your work ethic, your character, your reliability, and your growth become signals that attract new possibilities. Conversely, inconsistent habits signal instability, causing opportunities to pass you by without you ever realizing why. The future you experience often depends on the standard you hold privately. The future your habits are building is not only external, but internal. Your habits shape your emotions, your mental strength, and your resilience. When you repeatedly make choices that align with growth, you build confidence and inner stability. But when you repeatedly fall into avoidance or neglect, you strengthen doubt and insecurity. The internal world you live in tomorrow is being crafted by the choices you make today, even in the moments that seem insignificant. Habits also determine the quality of your relationships. The way you communicate, listen, support others, and manage your emotions becomes a pattern that affects the people around you. Over time, these patterns either deepen connection or create distance. Again, this process happens quietly without dramatic moments, but the long-term effects can be life-changing. What you repeatedly do becomes your relational legacy. Habits create the structure that supports or limits your dreams. Even if you have big goals and powerful visions, without habits that align with those goals, the future you desire remains out of reach. But with strong habits, even the most ambitious dreams begin to feel accessible. The routines you practice daily act as the scaffolding that makes your progress stable and sustainable. The silent nature of habits also teaches you patience. Because they do not produce overnight results, habits force you to trust the process and commit beyond your emotions. This commitment builds endurance and character, giving you the strength to keep going even when progress feels slow. Over time, this persistence becomes a key advantage that separates you from those who quit too early. Habits silently build your future because they shape every aspect of your life without needing recognition or applause. They operate in the shadows, gathering force, compounding in value, and creating results that will one day become impossible to ignore. The life you will live later is being constructed right now in the routines you practice consistently. Greatness grows in the unseen moments because the most powerful transformations happen long before anyone else is aware of them. The world may celebrate the finished product, but it is the quiet, humble, disciplined work behind the scenes that builds the strength, skill, and character required for true excellence. These moments are not glamorous, they are not applauded, and they are not shared on stages or social media, but they are where the foundation of greatness is laid brick by brick. It is in the early mornings when no one else is awake, when you choose discipline over comfort, that your future begins to shift. While the world sleeps, you are building momentum, sharpening your mind, and strengthening your commitment. These moments do not look significant, but they carry weight because they are shaping you into someone who can withstand pressure, overcome obstacles, and operate with intention regardless of circumstances. Greatness grows when you practice your craft without an audience, repeating the same skill over and over until mastery becomes second nature. The hours you spend perfecting details, studying deeply, rehearsing endlessly, and pushing through frustration are not seen by others, but they show up in the quality of your results. Mastery is not created in the spotlight. It is created in the isolation of effort that most people never witness. It also grows in the decisions you make when no one is holding you accountable. Integrity, honesty, discipline, and character are proven in the private spaces of your life. When you keep your promises to yourself, when you follow through even when no one is watching, when you choose growth over excuses, you build a strength that cannot be taken from you. These private victories shape a public presence that feels authentic and powerful. Greatness is also built in the struggles you don't talk about, the failures, the disappointments, the setbacks, the moments when doubt creeps in and quitting feels tempting. It is in these unseen struggles that you learn resilience, patience, and perseverance. Every time you rise after falling, you become stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the future that awaits you. These battles are invisible to the world, but they are essential to your evolution. The unseen moments also reveal what kind of person you are becoming. When you choose practice over procrastination, focus over distraction, faith over fear, you are shaping the identity that will carry you into greater levels of success. Your habits, your routines, and your mindset are being refined in these quiet moments. And they eventually define how high you can rise when opportunity finally arrives. Greatness grows when you invest in learning, reading, thinking, and expanding your understanding. These moments of quiet study are not praised, but they multiply your wisdom and sharpen your perspective. Knowledge gained in private becomes strength displayed in public. The insights you gather in silence become the breakthroughs that others admire later. It also grows in the consistency that no one sees. Showing up day after day, doing the work whether you feel like it or not, builds a level of discipline that becomes your greatest asset. Consistency compounds JU. ST-like interest and small repeated actions create results that look extraordinary over time. Most people want the outcome, but only a few are willing to endure the quiet grind that produces mastery. Greatness grows in the sacrifices you make that no one acknowledges, the time you invest, the comfort you give up, the effort you put in, and the standards you hold yourself to even when it's inconvenient. These sacrifices become the invisible currency that funds your future success. They may not be celebrated now, but they will be evident in the quality of your life later. Greatness grows in the unseen moments because these are the moments where you shape your character, your capability, and your commitment. They are the hidden chapters that create the strength others will one day admire. The world may only see your results, but you will always know that your greatness was built long before anyone was watching. Transforming habits transforms identity because the actions you repeat shape the story you believe about yourself. Every habit is more than a routine. It is a message you send to your mind about who you are and what you are becoming. When you begin changing those actions, even in small ways, you begin rewriting your internal narrative. You stop seeing yourself through the lens of who you were and start seeing yourself as someone capable of growth, discipline, and transformation. Identity is not built through wishful thinking. It is built through consistent patterns of behavior. When you maintain habits that align with strength, purpose, and improvement, you begin to naturally identify as someone who lives with intention. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It grows slowly, almost invisibly, as each day of follow-through strengthens your self-confidence and self-respect. The more you honor your commitments, the more you believe in your ability to change your life. Your habits become evidence, and evidence shapes identity. When you consistently practice habits such as reading, training, waking up early, or focusing on your goals, you create proof that you are dedicated, disciplined, and serious about your future. That proof overrides old beliefs that may have held you back. You stop viewing yourself as someone who struggles and start viewing yourself as someone who follows through. And that shift becomes the foundation of personal transformation. Transforming habits also transforms identity by changing the standards you operate from. Once you begin adopting higher level habits, the old versions of you no longer feel comfortable. Procrastination, excuses, and distractions no longer match who you are becoming. You begin raising your expectations for yourself. Not because someone told you to, but because your habits have elevated your sense of what is normal. You naturally hold yourself to a higher standard because your behavior demands it. The transformation also happens in the way you handle challenges. When you build strong habits, you respond differently to pressure, setbacks, and obstacles. You develop resilience, patience, and persistence through daily discipline. This resilience becomes part of your identity. You no longer see yourself as fragile or inconsistent. You start seeing yourself as capable of enduring difficulty without breaking your commitment to growth. Changing your habits also reshapes your mindset. When repeatedly choose habits that align with improvement, your thoughts shift from limitation to possibility. You start recognizing that you have control over your actions and therefore control over your destiny. This shift in mindset expands your belief in what you can create, what you can achieve, and who you can become. Identity grows stronger as your thoughts align with your behavior. New habits not only change how you see yourself, but also how others see you. As your habits improve, your energy, discipline, and focus become more noticeable. People begin to treat you according to the identity you are displaying through your actions. They recognize the growth, the consistency, and the elevation in your character. This external feedback reinforces your internal identity, creating a cycle of improvement that continues building momentum. Transforming habits also transforms identity by removing the behaviors that kept you stuck. Old habits tied to fear, doubt, and comfort begin to fade as new habits tied to growth take over. Slowly, the version of you that procrastinated, avoided challenges, or settled for less begins to disappear. A new version emerges, one built on intention, courage, and self-leadership. You become aligned with the future you are trying to create instead of the past you are trying to escape. As your identity transforms, your decisions naturally change. You start making choices from who you are becoming, not who you used to be. You set different goals, keep different standards, and pursue different opportunities because your habits have reshaped the way you think and the way you operate. This alignment between habits and identity creates a level of clarity and strength that becomes impossible to ignore. Transforming habits transforms identity because habits are the foundation of who you are becoming. Every repeated action writes a line in the story of your life, and over time, that story becomes the truth you believe about yourself. When you intentionally change your habits, you take control of that story, and in doing so, you take control of your destiny. Your future depends on the habits you choose today, because the small decisions you make each day eventually create the long-term realities you will experience. Every routine you build, every disc plan you strengthen, and every action you repeat lays the groundwork for the life you will live months and years from now. The future is not shaped by sudden moments of inspiration, but by the daily choices that either move you forward or keep you stuck in the same patterns you've always known. The habits you commit to today determine the opportunities you will be prepared for tomorrow. Success does not arrive unexpectedly. It arrives for those who have built the structure to sustain it. When you choose habits that develop your skills, improve your mindset, and strengthen your discipline, you position yourself to take advantage of doors that would have remained closed without preparation. The work you do today becomes the qualification for the breakthroughs you seek. The future you desire requires habits that match its level. You cannot expect extraordinary outcomes from ordinary routines. If you want freedom, you must practice responsibility. If you want confidence, you must practice consistency. If you want growth, you must practice learning. Your current habits are either aligned with your future or anchored to your past, and that alignment determines how far you can go. The habits you choose today also shape your mindset, and your mindset shapes your destiny. When you choose routines that challenge you, stretch you, and push you beyond comfort, you train your mind to think bigger and believe more deeply in your potential. But when you choose habits rooted in avoidance, distraction, or comfort, you mold a mindset that settles for less. The thoughts you will think tomorrow are being built by the habits you reinforce today. Every habit you practice influences your confidence. When you show up consistently, you build trust in yourself. You begin to believe that you can rely on your own discipline and follow through. This self-trust becomes a powerful force that shapes your decisions, your courage, and your willingness to pursue new opportunities. On the other hand, neglected habits weaken your belief in your own abilities, making the future feel uncertain and unreachable. Your future depends on the habits you choose today, because habits impact the quality of your energy. The way you treat your body, the way you manage your time, the way you rest, and the way you handle stress all determine how much strength and clarity you will bring into the next season of your life. High-level goals require high-level energy, and that energy is cultivated through the daily habits that fuel your well-being. The relationships you build in the future will also be shaped by the habits you practice now. Communication, patience, empathy, consistency, and integrity all grow from daily choices. Habits determine the kind of friend you become, the kind of partner you show up as, and the kind of influence you offer to others. The connections you will value tomorrow are being built by the behaviors you practice today. The habits you choose today gradually create the identity you will carry in the future. Every time you take action aligned with discipline and growth, you reinforce the identity of someone who leads themselves well. Over time, this identity influences your goals, your choices, and your lifestyle. The version of yourself you will become is being constructed by your current routines, even if the changes are not yet visible. Your future achievements will be the result of compounding habits. Small daily improvements accumulate into major progress, and tiny negative habits accumulate into large setbacks. Time multiplies whatever you repeatedly do. The habits you choose today will not just influence tomorrow, they will compound across months and years, shaping the entire direction of your life. Your future depends on the habits you choose today, because habits are the most powerful force in determining your trajectory. You may not be able to control every circumstance, but you can control your routines, your actions, and your daily choices. Those choices will eventually create the experiences, opportunities, and outcomes that define your future.